One with
Great
the
convo
dude
between
supporting
Dr.
Vaush.
Mac Aston. Oh, I think I... Hold on.
Attacked by the KKK. Our protests have been attacked by the KKK. I've been attacked by the...
Did you already watch the Vaush v Bostia debate? If so, can you stop everything and rewatch it for me? Okay, thanks.
I didn't fully finish it because felt like capitalism versus close to fucking destroying my shit, dude. My water almost spilled over on a outlet.
I know white supremacy. That guy's not a white supremacist. That guy literally stands with us. Like, I don't know how you can ever come to the conclusion, oh, wait, I know why you came to that conclusion, and this is what happens in the movement all the time. He disagreed with you. I have a huge...
Nice. He's talking about you and that? Yeah, I think I'm the one being referred to here. Nice. Oh, you know, I actually wanted to do this, and people in chat are posting about it anyway. This is the Professor Flowers retrospective, because I feel like we learned a lot, you know, as a channel. Funny Rhetorician in chat says, I don't know if you saw, but Professor Flowers created a separate Facebook account.
We might take a look
and has
at
been
it.
going on, posting one post regarding your debate with her, and she's begging people to be nice to her. In leftist Facebook groups, she know will be sympathetic to her Lamau. I can't verify whether or not that's true, but I choose to believe that it's true. And really, is that not all that matters? I actually want to, I thought we could do a retrospective on that a little bit, because I think it's actually really interesting to look at in hindsight. So for those of you who don't know, and I don't know how you couldn't know given how much discourse it produced, the Professor Flowers debate was spurned because there was a smaller YouTuber by the name of Professor Flowers. I hope you're keeping up so far. This is good stuff. She made a video criticizing me, which I went over on stream, and then she made another video also criticizing me. And then I asked, like, hey, do you want to come on? And eventually she came on. We had a discussion, and it wasn't great. It wasn't great for a couple of reasons, you know? Not the least of which was the fallout afterwards. So the main sort of, the crux of this discussion was about decolonialism and black nationalism. So I'm going to give my understandings of these terms as best as I can. As far as I can tell, these are...
Okay.
There's always some
United
States accountable to broken contracts with regards to native land and the boundaries and borders pertaining to it. It's really complicated, but basically it's like, hey, America, you kind of cheated us here like 47 times, you know? Let's come on, guys. Let's not. Which seems totally fair to me. You know, I'm a big old fan of the government being held accountable to broken contracts. It seems to me like a fairly agreeable thing. This is going to vary, you know, from country to country, because she said that her definition of colonizer meant white people. So the whole wide history of colonization across the millennia in all the continents of the world, that to her, it's exclusively like white people colonizer. Like that's that, you know? The thing to me that makes this really, really dangerous is that when you do the whole colonizer equals white people equals colonizer thing, what you're doing is essentialization, which is a common tactic for dehumanization. And you're doing this in the context of legitimizing state power. So when all white people are colonizers, what a colonizer is a person acting aggressively against your group, right? It essentially means any violence against white people in that context is an act of self-defense. That can get really, really, really dangerous. Now, thankfully, real land-back activists and real decolonization activists and real anti-racist activists, they don't believe any of this. They don't advocate for black ethno states or like white people as some kind of like existentially, you know, villainous racial group. But Professor Flowers isn't a real advocate for these issues, because as far as I could tell, she has a really bad understanding of them. So the frustration I had in this conversation was that try as I might, try as
Turbo, wait, what do you think? Wait, are you saying like Vaush is wrong? I mean, I have yet to hear anything that's wrong.
I couldn't actually like get her to realize that she was essentially just, I mean, this is like the stereotype, like basically advocating for like what people call reverse racism, right? I don't actually think there's a such thing, but it seemed like from her perspective, she was just legitimizing any kind of antagonism you could direct against white people, sort of as a reflection of, I guess, historical wrongs or prejudices. And it's also weird because,
to a
like,
limited degree, I think everything Vaush says about this and has said about this has been accurate. I don't disagree with Vaush on just about... The only thing I disagree with Vaush on, how's this, is I don't think we should be, like, supporting black nationalism. Because of the rate of, like, Pepe inside of black nationalism. What do I mean by that? It's like fucking half the people that say that they're black nationalists are just black separatists. It's like, look, if you're a black nationalist that's based, and what do I mean by that is there's black nationalists that are just like for the liberation or self-determination of black people in a non-cringe way, just like pretty much just want to do away with systemic racism. You gotta go by a different title. It's been co-opted. Sorry. That's just the way that it is. Like, half of these people in black nationalism or that are self-avowed black nationalists truly hate white people or, like, truly hate Jewish people or some shit like that. And it's like, all right, you guys gotta make something happen here. This is really fucking weird. So, yeah.
Aren't non-white people in America just as much sort of beneficiaries of American colonial?
Also, the name is just shit. It's just dog shit. That's just objectively true. Black nationalism, it, like, if you're a like, not cringe black nationalist, you're not a nationalist. It's just, there's no nationalism there. It's a complete, like, changing of the use of the terms.
As white people? I mean, like, if you're in America and you're like Hispanic or whatever, or Asian, you know.
Historically, just, yeah, sure. Historically made sense. And it sure as fuck a desire for. I'm more sympathetic towards the desire of wanting a black, like, space, even a black neighborhood, like, enforced by a threat or what have you, back way in the past. Like, when, like, if you had a white person in your neighborhood, they might just fucking call the cops on you, you just die because they didn't like you. Or some shit like that, but, like, we're far from that now. Like, that's definitely not at all remotely nearly the case as what it used to be, so.
You're in America. You benefit from American economic systems. Well, as much, but not as much, but more so for sure. Don't conflate colonialism with white supremacy. They're not the same thing. No matter your race, if you're an American, you're part of the national group that colonized this country, and you've benefited from all of the shit that we did as a product of it. White supremacy may have influenced the way those resources were distributed, but fundamentally, the act of colonization and the benefits that you reap from it, this would be like saying people of color here in the United States don't benefit from exploitative labor practices abroad, just because it's only actually being actively done by, like, the capitalist class. I personally have never, like, forced Chinese laborers to assemble iPhones, but I would be joking, I'd be kidding myself if I pretended that the prices that I pay when I go shopping are not influenced by the effect that my nation's hegemonic power economically has in the world. This stuff is really complicated. The last thing you want to do when it comes to situations like this is essentialize the dynamic of white people.
He's talking at, like, a normal speed at 1.5. This is like a normal speed people talk.
Equals colonizer equals white people is it's not just, like, inaccurate or reductive, it's, like, outright wrong, and it obfuscates a lot of real, like, meaningful issues there. But it's involuntary for the consumer in America, so what's your point? Are you...
Self-determination would be a desire if it was realized at the level of the whole black American population. It depends on what you mean by self-determination, and I would probably disagree.
Voluntarily colonizing native territory right now? That's also involuntary. You realize that, right? If you're born in America right now, no matter what your race is, you're not...
This is incredibly normal. What?
Like a voluntarily participating in colonization.
He's like voluntarily participate in colonization. That's not fast speaking at all.
The active process of colonization within our own borders ended a while ago. Now it's just the passive reinforcement of existing power structures, which...
Here, you know what? You guys are going to see what happens on normal speed.
You... Not only do you not have any direct control over it, you probably don't even know what they are.
You probably don't even know what they are. Like, come on,
I don't know
man.
what they all are. It's based on centuries and centuries of broken deals, contracts, really complicated systemic and interpersonal systems. These issues are just too complicated to approach with a whole, this race is this thing and this race is the other thing attitude. One way or another, the conversation lasted forever. Over 3
No, maybe you guys are just, like, too slow at listening, huh? Your ability to grasp information just hasn't, you know, gotten to my level.
Hours. And I don't know. She's just really about the racial essentialization. So I wouldn't be talking about this if it weren't for that. Sorry, if it were just that. What really surprised me was the reaction from the rest of the online left. Because the rest of the online left...
Wait,
I'm being general here, not every single online left. A lot of people in the online left, not in my community, saw this discussion and actually sided with her. They thought that I was being some, like, sea lioning, anti-decolonization, white supremacist, etc., which is really, really strange to me, you know? because I actually get accused of misunderstanding theory really, really often. But in this case, as far as I can tell from all the research that I've done now and before, I was right, like objectively, when it came to a lot of the definitions concerning decolonization. And she was not just wrong, but harmfully wrong. Wrong in a way that actually enables really bad politics. Racial essentialization should never be a part of leftist doctrine. Sometimes we slip into it a little bit when we talk about white people not liking not liking spicy food, or they like mayonnaise or whatever. Like, okay, I make jokes too. But if you're making a serious argument for decolonization, like real advocacy, there's no room for that type of behavior. None whatsoever. So I was really disappointed to see that a lot of people on the left reflexively sided with her. I'm going to take a guess and say like 98% of the people who reflexively sided with her didn't actually see the debate. Is that fair of me to guess? I'm guessing that it had a lot to do with signifiers they picked up on without actually seeing the content. A lot of which was probably a pre-existing dislike of me, which explains a lot of hate that I get. Let's be fair, a lot,
and probably because he's white,
of it having to do with her race and mine.
Yep.
That's also a pretty big factor.
I was gonna say,
left, when there is an argument on race issues between a white and a black person, people on the left tend to, by default, side with the black person or the non-white person, because if we look at it as a matter of statistics, white people do tend to be more reactionary when it comes to race issues. So when you're looking at social patterns from above, from a bird's eye view, I get that. But when you're looking at an interpersonal interaction, I really think you should set that stuff aside, those generalizations, and you should really try to focus on the actual arguments being made. Because to do otherwise is to engage in the worst form of identity politics, where you leave aside truth values and instead just assign people an Oppression Olympics point score, and whoever has the highest one.
Wait, are you hearing static? You sure that's not my music?
The default charitability in the context of any argument. I noticed there was a pretty big difference between the way Professor Flowers talked with me and the way Professor Flowers talked with Dr. Heemed. Dr. Heemed is, I'm actually going to right. Sorry, totally real with you. I have no idea what Dr. Heemed's race or ethnicity is. Dr. Heemed doesn't seem to be white, as far as I can tell. That's the here. I forgot that I was playing Mario during this. Can we just get a photo of Dr. Heemed up? A very low res photo. There we go. That's
Zolk. No, I'm
Persian.
waiting.
Oh, I grew up around Persians. Some of the best food in the world. I have fond memories of my downstairs neighbor when I was a little kid, occasionally cooking chicken and rice and making too much and bringing some up to me. Really, really amazing stuff. Heemed is a really good cook. I saw the Twitter drama today about him saying that olive oil isn't good for cooking with. Look, okay. Tangential issues aside, Professor Flowers had a conversation with Heemed. Now, Heemed is to my right. Heemed isn't as left-leaning as me. He's like a left-leaning liberal or social democrat, I think. I'm not entirely sure, but he's on the left, while maybe not being a leftist. So his issues and his perspective wasn't the same as mine. But in a general sense, he seems to also be against racial essentialization, which, God, I can't believe I have to make an argument against racial essentialization on the left, you know? Like, fellow leftists, apparently we need to have this conversation. He had a conversation with her in which not only did she admit that literally just thought, like, colonizer meant white people, essentially, she also, in spite of him being, like, really, really nice to her the whole time, kind of abruptly left. You've seen the discussion, right, guys? Do you think that's a fair characterization? It seemed like the conversation was progressing. I mean, he never insulted her. He was just asking questions, and she just got mad at the end and left. And even afterwards begged him to take the video down, which was really interesting because he didn't do much of anything. But I think I've pieced together a bit of a narrative after all of this. Yeah, apparently she made a final video after this. Now, you're not going to be able to get a feel for this unless you watch like all the content involved, but my impression of Professor Flowers is that with no respect, I think that she's unironically racist and very bad faith, and is either uneducated and arrogant or just not that bright when it comes to these issues. Because her definitions were wrong, they were harmful, and it seemed like the most consistent narrative behind a lot of her politics was
Is he gonna talk about the fact that she showed the definition of genocide and fell right into describing her position and what she's okay with as being a genocide? Like, she's like, I don't know where this narrative that I'm okay with genocide came from. And she literally just Googled what genocide was, and the definition described perfectly what she was advocating for. And it, like, dude, I thought that was the wildest shit in the world.
Liking white people that much. I'm not going to pretend that makes me like a huge victim or whatever. We know who systemic power, you know, we know where the systemic power lies. Vaush, she's not racist, just dumb. Gotta say, this is kind of a dumb argument, but if you reverse the racist, a lot of the behavior she engaged in, yeah, the essentialization stuff is just really, really strange to me, you know? I think that people on the left should be more willing to call out. I've said this before, but we should be more willing to call out what people have traditionally called, and I hate the term, but I'm using it, reverse bigotry. So an example of this that I've brought up before is with TERFs. So TERFs, trans-exclusionary radical feminists, have been around for a while, not like hundreds of years, but, you know, a little while. But they only really entered common discourse on the left in the past couple of years. Do you know why that is? It's because their warning signs weren't tracked and picked up on up until recently. Because a lot of women who are currently TERFs are what people would call man-hating feminists 5 or 6 years ago. TERFs tend to really dislike men, or at the very least fear them tremendously. That's one of the reasons why they're so transphobic against trans women and so dismissive of trans men, because they think of trans men as...
Wasn't her point just to give indigenous people a say? No, her point was, that's what she represented her point as. What her point actually was let's give indigenous people a say, and let's give them so much of a say that if they commit genocide, maybe we look the other way and we say we don't really, hey, let's not bother with dealing with that. Hey, it's not that big of a deal. That was the point of contention for the entire discussion. The entire discussion was about whether or not, like, indigenous people can commit genocide, and whether or not we ought to be able to condemn them and say they ought not commit genocide. Professor Flowers was like, I don't know, listen, we should be able to, like, ethnically, like, displace all of these people, and if they fight back, I don't know, like, I don't know, it's the indigenous people's choice, and, I mean, less colonized people around indigenous people, the better. If they resist, I mean, as long as their population is reduced, and if you, think I'm paraphrasing when I say population reduced, I am not. If you look at the debate that, he had with her, at the end, she explicitly said, I believe there was a violent, altercation at one point she was referencing to. She said, like, the goal was achieved after the violent altercation, and what the goal, she said, was achieved was a reduction in the colonized people's population. So when the colonized people, the white people, like, were like, no, we're not gonna, you know, let this shit happen, she's like, okay. And then what she counted as the goal achieved was the killing of those people. And she said, you know, their goal was achieved. Not the goal was achieved of getting the colonized people even ethnically displaced, which was cringe as fuck to begin with, but that because those people under ethnic displacement and the stealing of their shit were fighting back against that stealing and they killed them, he was like, hey, listen, that's a dub. Yep.
Lost or confused, but trans women are like secret men in hiding who are trying to victimize them under like the veil of perceived femininity. That's a really common TERF argument, you know? That's why they call them predators, basically. So fundamentally, TERFs, their transphobia is rooted in a lot of stuff, but one of the biggest ones is unironically man-hating. You guys recognize that, right? Like that is that's like the common narrative there. And that man-hating tendency within feminism has always reared its head from time to time. Oftentimes it's satirical, and oftentimes it's funny. Sometimes a small portion of the online left, the feminist community, is unironically misandristic.
Okay, Glurb, no. That's not how genocide works. You can genocide a group of people without actively killing an entire group of people. Glurb, you realize then there would be, like, no genocide ever, right? I can't tell. Are you memeing? That's how words work, buddy? It isn't. So letting you know what genocide is a mass killing of a specific group of people, usually based on ethnicity. It can be religious orientation or sexual orientation or cultural affiliation. So I don't know what to tell you. Geno plus aside. So wait, Glurb, would you agree that there's never been a genocide in human history then? There's never been a genocide in human history. No such thing. Never. Never. Not one genocide has ever happened. Because we can find one instance of there has been. Name one. Name one. Name one. Name one. Neanderthals, a lot of them died off on their own. We didn't kill all of them. Name one. Name a single one, Glurb. One. A single one. You know what? You have 60 seconds. I'm fucking done with you. You got 60... You know, you got 30 seconds. I've given you enough time. You got 30 seconds. And you're fucking gone. Go ahead. Name one. A single one. A single one. 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 Okay. Yep. Alright. Later, nerd.
Yeah, and when they are, usually people on the left don't really, like, pay attention to it or care, but I think these people do real harm.
I have very little patience for that shit.
For one, antagonism towards a majority power-holding group is just personally harmful. Bigotry hurts you.
Wait, he
Being
dropped
bigoted
one?
causes you to see the world in a spiteful, vindictive, and...
Oh, he didn't? He said, go look it up. He didn't drop one? He literally told me to go look it up. He said Sudan, though? Wait, where? Oh, there it is. Damn, sorry, I didn't see that. Wait, wait, is he saying that there's no Sudanese people anymore? Wait, is he saying that no Sudanese people exist anymore? Amazing, amazing.
Antagonistic way.
This is why you need to finally get Chatterino? Yeah, unironically I do. Yeah, I do. I know I do. RTBA. I'm just a lazy dumb fuck.
For two, it's bad theory. A good feminist should understand that the issues we have in our society aren't rooted in some kind of biological problem with you know.
It is Sudanese people, right? Am I saying that right? It is pronounced Sudanese, right? Or am I being fucking American?
Male-sexed people, but rather in social conditions. Because the latter we can change. You can't change the former. If your belief is that feminism is valid because men are, like, inherently bad, then that's just bad feminism. I mean, how do you even change that? If it's genetics, I mean, if you just think men are, like, genetically bad, like, okay, thank you for your valuable contribution to social discourse. You're really adding a lot. It's harmful to the person. It's bad theory. And additionally, it can actually take socially reactionary forms in ways that actually hurt people. With TERFs, it's not just trans misogyny. It's also a lot of incel-related stuff. TERFs tend to exacerbate a lot of these social conditions that lead men to be emotionally isolated, to view women as some distant other thing, and to not want to engage broadly with society. Because if you're a guy and you see, like, unironic man-hating from women, I mean, whether it's systemically reinforced or not, bigotry just sucks to be the receiving end of. Some people on the left, they think that's like a crybaby perspective. Is it really?
True. That is a true message.
You have to wonder what kind of leftist you need to be to believe that, like, bigotry is the only thing that makes bigotry bad is if it's reinforced by systemic oppression. Like, but before that point, it's totally fine. It seems like a lot of people on the left kind of feel that way with how people on the left will completely invalidate the idea that men can be victims of bigotry or white people can be victims of bigotry. Are they as harmful or pernicious as, like, anti-black racism or anti-female sexism? No. But there's still issues. We don't need to only focus on the...
I think it depends. I wouldn't use a wide sweeping no on average. I know how he's using it, though.
Worst issue, right? I think a lot of people on the left, not that kind of reverse bigoted, but rather that they're not willing to point it out when they see it. And what's more, if you do point it out, they think that you're sort of kowtowing to the right. Like, to point out that there are black people who hate white people, that's reinforcing a white supremacist narrative. While, in my mind, it's kind of the opposite. You're reinforcing it by not saying it's bad. The white supremacist narrative isn't just there are black people who hate white people. It's that the left refuses to acknowledge it because they secretly approve of that hate. That's the real narrative. The knowledge that there are bigoted people no matter what your race is, that's universal, but the idea that the left as a political group is willing to turn a blind eye...
Leftists seem to want to own the oppressed plight and funnel their politics to will to a broader end, and if the oppressed ask for direct control, they discipline them? What are you talking about?
Towards certain kinds of bigotry. That's the accusation from the right, and that's something that people play into when... For example, they reflexively defend a person advocating in favor of ethno-states because the person making
You already gave your take on the... I haven't watched the Chappelle special and shit like that. It feels like he's misusing terms. Because I know he later, like, goes on to say that he, like, thinks a trans woman is a woman and shit like that. But, like, says that gender is real. I have no idea what the fuck he's talking about. I don't think he should have said that in public without, like, knowing what the fuck half of this shit was in the first place. I think the man's confused.
Argument is a black woman, and the person contesting that argument is a white man.
He said he was a TERF, but, like, also said that he thought trans women were women and that, like, we should respect trans people. So it's like, okay.
That's so weird and so dangerous and such a betrayal of our principles based on nothing more than an aesthetic adherence to what is generally, considered to be like the fighting line for progressive issues, which is when black women are arguing with white men, it's usually the black women who are being progressive. But as anyone who's watched a Candace Owens video knows, that is just not the case all the time. General trends can't be used to understand or investigate interpersonal issues in the same way that you can acknowledge, say, for example, disproportionate crime rates among racial groups in America, but it would be bigoted of you to take those statistical assumptions and then use it as a way of being biased against an individual. That's not good. That's bad. I thought we knew that was bad. We've been arguing against that for like hundreds of years, haven't we? Even before like modern racial issues were metastasized in the way we currently understand them, anti-racist activists have been arguing against racial essentialization for, at the very least, since the abolitionist days, It's true that a lot of abolitionists back in the 1800s were racist. They didn't think black and white people were equal. They just thought black people shouldn't be slaves. By modern standards, they weren't exactly, like super progressive.
He gendered her by saying, I wish I could have told. Fucked up. I didn't watch the special, so friend is dead, but I didn't watch the special. I have no idea. Seems like Chappelle was a bit spiteful because a trans person that defended him roadblocked herself. Wouldn't that make him support trans people more? How would that make him spiteful of trans people? I don't understand what the fuck you're saying.
But there were people back then, even in like 1842, who believed that the perceived differences between black and white people were skin deep. And these people were considered radicals for their times. I mean, these people were like ostracized sometimes from abolitionist movements because they were giving the abolitionist movement a bad name. I mean, this was the cutting edge. And they ended up being right. But they ended up being right not by being radically anti-white in favor of black liberation. They ended up being right by being radically anti-racial essentialization. That's super cool. Yes, Frederick Douglass obviously did get, more of a, in hindsight, respect. But what about all the white abolitionists in the North who made that argument? I mean, they would have been like totally ostracized in the academic and social communities. I mean, the idea that the racial hierarchy between black and white people was made up, and that all the differences between black and white people were a product of the fact that they lacked education, like that was a thoroughly radical prospect. But it ended up being right. It ended up being pretty cool. I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to get at here. It's not about me being a victim or whatever, because I'm not. I'm always the victor in these interactions, because I'm cool and confident and I'm chill. Not worried about that. I am worried about the left's apparent unwillingness to reflect on these issues with the seriousness they deserve. And yeah, if you're doing that intersectional min-maxing, you're kind of doing like the liberal id poll. You're doing the. I'll ask you guys this: what's the difference between we need more female drone pilots and we need more black ethnostates? I don't know. It seems to me like fundamentally they're kind of the same argument, aren't they? They're kind of the same thing.
Did he just spit all over the place?
No states. I don't know. It seems to me like fundamentally they're kind of the same argument, aren't they?
Oh, Jesus.
They're kind of the same thing. So you take a fundamentally bad structure and then you try to reform it. Nice spittle. I'm enthusiastic today, you know? You try to reform it through inclusivity. How is what
nice
get argued
spittle.
any different than what is essentially being argued for land back? They both want autonomy and right to self-determination. Land back is not about ethnostates. Yeah. There are not land back activists who are arguing that they should take the whole U.S. and then deport all the white people. Thankfully, because I think that's, a really silly, I think that's a pretty silly argument. If you take a look at what land back activists are saying, they're usually well-measured, reasonable, and very, in my mind at least, ethically defensible. I think that, for the most part, the land back movement, because there will always be...
Yeah, at least what Lady Rain came in and, talked to me about, on paper at least, I literally don't see why not. I don't see why we wouldn't. Just give, like, national parks over to, like, various different, native groups. Why the fuck not? Yeah.
Elements of any social movement I disagree with, but the core of land back, the whole of it, the overwhelming majority of the prescriptions made by it are good. They're good. And we should defend those ideas. And one of the ways we have to defend them is by protecting them from bad advocates. Can you explain the idea between PF's idea and land back? Professor Flower's argument was that colonized populations have the right to do anything to free themselves from cohabilitation with the colonizer population. Now, keep in mind, her definition of colonizer was entirely like white people, meaning that even if as is the case in South Africa, the colonization took place centuries ago, and it's a democratic country now, what she's essentially advocating for is the right for ethnic cleansing. To be very specific, that is what ethnic cleansing means. It is a collective and broad social effort to eliminate or to deport or to disempower significantly an ethnic group. And in this case, it would be that. And ethnic cleansing is bad, so we shouldn't do that. Now she's doing that David Irvin thing where she's denying the thing she explicitly said and is now demanding people to give her proof she supported genocide in ethnostates. I asked her directly like 17 times. She was pretty specific, pretty clear. She doesn't support ethnic cleansing. If colonized populations want to do it, that's their right. So I don't think there's much of a pragmatic difference between supporting a thing.
Yeah, it's literally like saying, hey, listen, I didn't support Nazi Germany, but I think the German people have a right to be able to govern their own land. It's like, okay.
And supporting people's right to do a thing. Those are basically the same thing. Which is why you call a person pro-choice if they personally wouldn't want to have an abortion, but they're totally okay with its legalization. You'd call them pro-choice because the social prescription is what matters, not their personal opinion. You could say that Professor Flowers is pro-choice if the choice isn't abortion, but is rather ethnic cleansing. You get to choose, which, again, I don't like. Just not my thing as a leftist. Ethnic cleansing, I don't know, it doesn't seem like it works.
Yeah, and you're morally condoning it. You're morally condoning it. That's what's happening.
I'll use. So,
hey, listen, the first they came for shit, I hold that shit pretty close. That's a pretty good rule to live by, man. I unironically think it is, yeah. Like, first they came for X, said nothing and shit like that. Hey, listen, Don't let anybody take nobody's liberties, all right? Because they might come for you. At the very least, if you don't have empathy for the other group, think of yourself.
A few last things I want to say to wrap this up, because I feel like I'm being very measured right now. Did you see her most recent video?
22-minute Overwatch queue? Wait, why? Is like Overwatch fucking finals going on? What do you mean?
It gets pretty sussy during the 12-minute mark. It is a 45-minute video, so I have not. It says on my debate with Vaush, so I guess it's about me. Maybe one day I'll take a look at it on stream. I talked with her for 3 hours, and I asked her the same question over and over again, and she kept answering in a very consistent and reliable way. She was very specific and clear.
Oh, I guess the game could be dead, huh? I was thinking maybe it was really popular, but I guess it could be dead, huh?
I gave her many opportunities to change her mind or to move away from the implicit support for ethnic cleansing, and she never did. So there's not really much ambiguity here that I'm looking to, looking to clean up. Please watch the part where she tries to redefine genocide. If you would provide a specific timestamp to anything especially bad that she says, and I mean something with a few.
I wonder if she supports the China reunification.
Fine. We'll take a look for a minute and see if anything in particular is said.
So for anyone who has been following the drama...
Wait, I clicked on the timestamp. Wait, you didn't give me a timestamp. You just said around the 12-minute mark. Sorry, I thought you'd be more considerate than that.
...that I'm genocidal, and I just want to clear up what I mean. What I mean to say is that there is no amount of violence that colonized people can enact towards their colonizers that will ever compare to what colonizers have done to them. That compares...
What does that mean? First of all, that's not what she meant, because that's a totally different concept, and she violence.
Like, a white dude was watching that on Twitch. A white dude showed that on Twitch. This is a white dude stream. If I get banned for depictions of black people, black slaves, and their treatment, when I'm watching a white man stream, I'm going straight to the top of Twitch. All right? I'm going straight to the top. Okay? I want to let that know. I'm going to fight. Okay? Hey, listen, Twitch mod, if you're looking at this, you're thinking about pulling the trigger, hey, listen. I understand it, all right? You're a cog in the machine. Everybody's got to eat, okay? But do me this solid, okay? Don't make me make the tweet.
Colonized people could do to their colonizers that would compensate for what was done to them. Did she ever say that? Is that even, like, relevant? What does that have to do with what we're talking about?
To the millions of kidnapped and enslaved people, to thousands of years of...
I'm going to get the $138 million lawsuit. Fuck the 137. I'm pushing the 138.
History and way of life that has been wiped out, to languages that have been lost. To
also, doesn't this kind of support my argument? This seems very strange to me because it feels like the implicit suggestion is that the violence that
location. Well, sure, it missed the nuance of land back because the Professor Flowers wanted to make it all about like, hey, listen, if they want to genocide people, we should let them. It's like, well, no, we definitely not.
Nice people do is okay because it could never be enough. You know what I mean? That's right. Isn't that kind of what this sounds like? A little bit.
You talking about
the entire caste system that has been created, to the relocation and murder of millions, to the subjugation of entire nations, and to the subjugation and profit of stolen land. And how dare you compare the removal of those who have colonized stolen land and who have subjugated indigenous people?
So for removal of those who have colonized stolen land, what she means is white people in countries that were colonized in the past. Just when we're talking, imagine like a modern like white person born in America today. Like that's the colonizer she's referring to. So by removing a racial group, she is explicitly, again, this is you guys know this is the definition of ethnic cleansing, right? Did I even at any point ever say that the violence that colonized populations could do would ever rival? Like what does that even have to do? Yeah, ethnic cleansing is the systemic forced removal of ethnic, racial, and religious groups from a given area. Yeah, so she's
people as to being the same as the Holocaust. Colonized people have every right to say, you have slaughtered and subjugated us for hundreds of years, and you can no longer stay on stolen land. And it's
okay.
Soy. My mic is peaking because I'm hitting my desk. Soy.
Yeah, wait, why are people saying
soy champs?
That I misrepresent? She's explicitly doubling down with every sentence.
Oh, has he not watched this? She is unhinged in this conversation. Completely unhinged. She goes, like, if you want a good example of, like, why people like this need to just be stopped, right? And just completely disregarded in online discourse, just ignored, watch this fucking video, all right? She literally describes colonizers as definitionally white. I can't even say, like, China's trying to colonize Vietnam or some shit. Like, no. Because the only people that have ever colonized are white people. It was like, okay. All right. Okay. No person that isn't white has ever colonized in the history of mankind. No, okay? It is white people only. It's like, okay, whatever, dude.
She's like, yes, we are in favor of ethnic cleansing because there's nothing we could ever do that would be worse than what you did to us. And by the you and us, she's obliquely referring to racial groups as white and non-white, which is funny because I'm pretty sure she's an American citizen. If the natives regained power of America and for some reason wanted to deport colonizers, they're not going to stop with white people. You really think they're going to be like, oh yeah, white people are the ones that are at fault for what happened, but all the non-white people who are American citizens who participate in all the systems that contribute to our ongoing exploitation. That's okay.
Genghis Khan doesn't
exist. Don't set this for black people. I'll say it for all colonized people as well. You should consider yourself lucky that colonized people are looking for equality and not revenge.
That's
like, consider yourself lucky. Like, I don't like this meme at all. I truly hate this meme. No, stop saying shit like this. This just creates, like, this is agitprop for Nazis. It's like Nazis can go over and go, hey, nudge, nudge to all these white people, be like, look, they're like, they're saying that you're lucky that they won't retaliate against you. What happens if they get more radical? You've seen that they've been getting more radical over time, right? What if they get more radical? And what if they decide to, like, retaliate against you? And it's like, okay, cool. You just left that door open for Nazis. Cool. Good one, buddy. Good one, buddy. You're soy. Go off, soy.
That's really good, yeah. But we're talking about you here. First of all, this is a villain speech. A little deranged.
It literally resembles the Nazi talking point. You should be lucky they feed you. Yeah. There was some Twitter discussion last week about how Native Americans really evolved in North America, and Bering Land Bridge is the Bering Land Bridge is a hoax. What? What?
Second of all, I don't know, I'm just not feeling the leftist vibes. Is she including herself in the colonized? Because I think she wants the revenge, right? My argument is that real land back activists aren't like Professor Flowers. I think she's a bad advocate for these positions, you know?
Correct.
Does anyone have the timestamp for when she implied Dr. Heemed is white?
You have no right to be a part of this conversation. No right.
As much shit as you may feel towards Lady Rain came on to talk about land back and how shit Professor Flowers' representation of it was. I'd say Lady Rain had a very agreeable definition of land back that even I'm like, yeah, sure, I'd be down with doing it like tomorrow, but obviously I'm considerably more left-wing than my just square, not yours, than most Americans. I don't think it's crazy or anything like that.
And then we have the, you can't advocate in favor of decolonization if you're white. Wait, so did she really imply Dr. Heemed isn't white?
That after the debate, Vaush got ripped into by black people, and it wasn't about leftism. It was about ending racist and colonialist rhetoric, and many black people from different political ideologies immediately recognized it.
I think that were those the same 4 tweets she showed?
Not trying to make any memes, just an example of modern non-white colony mainland China. Were also users. True.
The first time?
As such, and shut it down. If it's primarily black people and not white leftists who understand this rhetoric as racist, then it only—
Wait.
If it's primarily black people and not white leftists who understand this rhetoric as racist.
Yeah, no, that sounds like, yeah. Not white leftists. No. Zoom in on Dr. Heemed.
Well, is Heemed even in— Okay, I don't mean to one-drop this, I guess in the inverse. Is Heemed even 1% white? I don't even think he's like 1% white, is he? I don't think there's any bit in him that's white. I'm sorry. Maybe it is, and maybe this is a weird thing. I don't think any bit of him is white, like, at all. It's not even like he's like half white and, like, you know, half Persian or anything like that. He's just not white. Like, this is wild. This is the Family Guy skin color chart meme. It feels that way. Pure irradiate. Yeah, like, what? It's so obviously Middle Eastern. I think that chick is super
According
racist.
to her, everyone that agrees with me are black and everyone that disagrees with me are white.
Yeah, I know. That's crazy.
Well, I guess when you're a... Hey! That's first, he's not even a leftist. He's not white and he's not a leftist. That's kind of funny, though. Isn't that also like what like racist white people do? That if they think that you're like a race traitor, they'll kind of like they'll like brand you out of the group. That's a pretty common thing. Like, oh, you disagree with me on this? Like, this is one step forward because usually people like Professor Flowers just use the C slur against people like Dr. Heemed, but this time she's just like, nah, actually he's white. What's the C slur? Guys, come on.
If it's primarily black people and not white leftists who understand this rhetoric as racist.
Okay, we go.
Jesus Christ. Why is it, dude, at least I'm not the only person that goes through this. Nobody in the world has ever heard of the C slur. Nobody. Not a single person. Ever. And don't do this shit. Don't describe it in my chat room. Don't hint at it. Don't fucking meme at it. You will get banned for an hour. Okay? I'm throwing out hour bans. Our bans. If you try and hint at it, meme at it, or allude to it. Our bans, okay? I'm so fucking tired of people doing that shit. It gets so fucking tiring every time. Anyway. I'm glad I'm not the only streamer that has to deal with people not knowing what the fuck it is.
Please check the email that I just sent you. This was really supposed to be a concise segment. We've got a lot to go over right now. Hold on. Why would you do this, man? Oh, wait, is this really real? Ooh. Hey, everyone. This is Professor Flowers. I'm the person who debated Vaush a few weeks ago. I was surprised to see our debate blow up and even run clips of it on Facebook. My Facebook is pretty private, and I didn't expect those two worlds to collide. So I'm going to keep it this way. I've made this other account posted here. This is my video where I go over some thoughts of the debate. It's been pretty stressful seeing people critique my debating skills. It wasn't her debating skills that were the issue. It's just kind of the fact that she's a racist, ethnic cleansing defender. It's not really the idea is they're on trial here. You know, I'm not impugning you for your rhetoric. It's the actual things that you believe. I don't tend to sway people from my beliefs. I also understand it's used to try to argue and convince people what I actually tend to say or mean, but I hope
RTBA, just send it and I'll hold it.
And then the thing that she had to say was
the last time I saw somebody write it was in 2019. Wait, was it about me? Like, are you talking about when people said it to me?
Down on the ethnic cleansing.
What constitutes as eluding it? Don't try and just talk. Don't talk about it. Just move on. All right, just move on. Just move on. Move past it. All right, you don't need to talk about it at all. That's it. That's all I'm saying, Tommy. For the sake of like the rules, like don't like allow people to like sound it out or like do some shit where they like allude to it. It's just have business as usual.
I admire the consistency. We'll give it a second more.
Is it against? It's a racial slur. Yes, it's against TOS.
Fucking dare you sit in your gaming chair and paint the real—
Hold on, this is an office chair, okay?
Yeah, I was gonna say that's not. My boys doesn't have a DX eraser.
It's an office chair, not a gaming chair. It has no RGB lights. Thank you very much.
Lives of colonized people as a hypothetical towards white genocide. You have no right. No rights.
What are these zoom-ins?
Right.
This is very dramatic.
And that, not because you think I'm genocidal, is the reason I keep on insisting that we need to shut the fuck up and leave the decisions of decolonization to colonized people.
Why are you the one arguing that they should have the right to do ethnic cleansing? You're not shutting up, though. You initiated all of this. You made the videos. You critiqued me and my perspective. You started this with your videos.
And if you think what I'm saying is comparable to the Holocaust, then maybe I'm not the one who needs to learn more about colonialism.
I will say, actually, the really long villain speech where she says that, you know, no violence we do against you will ever come close to what you've done against us. You know, you're lucky we're not looking for revenge. I know that I get, like, memed on a lot for comparing people to, like, Nazis or white supremacists, but does that not sound a little bit like Stormfront rhetoric? I swear to God, I've seen dozens of posts like this of really angry, like, poll posters who are like, listen up, non-white people. You're lucky we're so nice to you after everything you've done to our homeland. Like, that, like I hear that pretty often. It's really weird. Now, the counter-argument to that is that in that case, the white supremacists or the Nazis are the aggressors, whereas the indigenous or colonized people were aggressed upon and then responding. And people will say that the argument is different because, you know, those are two different circumstances. But in actuality, whether or not you're aggressed upon first matters really depends on two factors, time and pragmatism. If it just happened, then attacking back is a retaliation. But if it happened hundreds of years ago, it's revenge. If it's practical, then you can make an argument for it. But if it's not, if it's driven by, say, fanatical hatred, then I think that the logic is really fundamentally comparable. If spite is what's driving you towards that behavior, then I think that you're being motivated by the same lizard brain impulses, whatever drives Professor Flowers to be so racially essentialist. And yeah, every group says that they're victims that are responding, you know. Every group that does genocide says we were the victim of X, so this is why we have to do this. Literally, look through history. I don't think there's been a single genocide that people didn't say beforehand was justified because of what was done to them first. Even the slaughter of gay people, like the Nazis said that they had to lock up, imprison, and you know, slaughter gay people because their existence weakened the Volk, that it was a harm to the fatherland. The way they talked about gay people was actually contextualized specifically with the idea that gay people's existence hurt Germany because they were depriving them of birth rates or whatever the fuck else they wanted to make up, degeneracy, etc. Every group that does mass slaughter justifies it through the lens of victimhood. So the lens of victimhood, real or imagined, is not a justification for ethnic cleansing. Isn't that what happened in Rwanda, like exactly what happened? Yes, there have also been legitimate genocides committed in the name of anti-colonialism. It's actually a thing that has happened before. Though, obviously, I don't think there's anything to fear from anti-colonialists. I don't think there's anything to fear from decolonization. I think there's something to fear from Professor Flowers, and I think there's something to fear from a left who can't recognize that Professor Flowers is a really bad advocate for these issues. Can you clear this part up? What is this? The end of an arc. This is a HeemedOut video? What is this? He's looking at McNugget. No, okay, it's a meme. Very much a meme. Yeah, there's always it's about the underlying logic.
Responding to some
with that all said, is there anything else I wanted to wrap up
Going over
with?
the DMs.
Oh, Haiti. So
leaks?
the common counter argument that I saw, which is funny because it's not actually a counter argument. I think the Haitian Revolution was a good thing. But the common counter argument that I saw from people talking about my position on this, that the colonized population shouldn't have the right to engage in ethnic cleansing or genocide or whatever, was the Haitian Revolution. Because the Haitian Revolution had a few gamer moments, a few times, you know. Yeah, a few gamer moments. Remember what I said earlier about violence being, the legitimacy of violence in this case, in terms of decolonization, being determined by two things. Time and pragmatism. Remember that? I said that recently, so you should remember that, okay? So, first of all, what happened in the Haitian Revolution was really complicated, and for me to give a full historical recount would not only take a lot of time, it would actually take more time than you think, because I would also have to read more on it. It's a very significant...
Vaush, that's Vaush's biggest L of the whole day. You always... Everybody knows this. It's the playbook of anybody. Never read history, just talk about history as if you know things about it, and then when people call you on it, just ignore them. I mean, I don't know why he's being an idiot about it. I mean, yeah, I don't know why he's being stupid, so.
Historical event, but essentially there were slaves in Haiti, and then they decided they didn't want to be slaves, and then a lot of people died, and then they were a free nation. I'm glossing over a few things. Now, a slave revolt leading to the first free, like, slave nation, like, that's really monumental. I mean, that's momentous. It's amazing. The path towards that end point was a bit bumpy, as I think any major revolution or social upheaval will be. So, first of all, some of the key differences with the Haitian Revolution was that, for one, they were literally slaves at the time. In America today, Native American people are not slaves, to my knowledge. In South Africa today, the black population, are not only are they not slaves, they're the overwhelming majority.
But Vaush! That's where you're wrong.
Of the population, I think they're like 90%, aren't they? They have a democratic government. So when you are slaves, when you are a part of a slave population, there's not really that much non-violent. There's not much in the way of non-violence you can do to seize control of, like, the territory you're being oppressed under. Also, the people.
I know that he's talking louder than me. I'm just lazy.
You're killing are slavers. The society you're rising up against isn't a biased system. America is a biased system. You know what they were rising up against was a slave state. There's a bit of a categorical difference, and as I understand it, slaves have basically no means for recourse apart from waiting it out, killing their masters. And in those two situations, I'm not going to be mad if they choose the latter. So that's one. And the second is pragmatism. Again, with slaves, there's really not much that you can do outside of violence to secure any kind of political power. You are literally slaves. There are things that were done in the Haitian Revolution that I think were bad. For instance, and I've talked about this a little bit before, after control of the territory had essentially been secured, there were still white families in Haiti, you know, thousands of white people.
God forbid.
And what the sort of revolutionary government did is they actually forced mixed race people to go from house to house and slaughter them because...
Jesus Christ. Oh, ay Dios mío. Oh my God.
Revolutionary government did not want the slaughter to be blamed on black people, so they sent the mixed race people as a way of racially insulating themselves against criticism, which I think the logic there is a little silly. But that was thousands of civilians slaughtered just for their race. I think that's indefensible. Were there easier or better ways to have handled that? I don't know. I just think it's a bad thing to do, you know? But the overall historical event was ultimately a good thing, because if they hadn't done all of that, guess what would have happened? They would have kept being slaves, and that leads to a lot more ongoing harm than the short burst of violence that was caused by the revolution. Well, Haiti's never exactly been stable. God really hates Haiti with all the natural disasters and social problems, but in concept. It was just the French, though. That's true. Every Frenchman counts for 9/10 of a real man. They let the Poles live because the Poles sided with them, I think, during the whole thing. But whatever the case may be, I think that you can be somewhat critical of some elements of some generally...
I'm assuming you mean watching Destiny and Vaush was brutal? Reading that sentence was pretty fucking brutal, dude. Holy fuck, you butchered the fuck out of that first word.
Good historical events. This is nuance that Professor Flower's worldview does not allow for. And I think that it would just behoove the left to be more responsible with this stuff. Because I gotta tell you guys, it probably, as a land back activist, feels pretty shitty to watch a black woman say that she's defending you, and then go ahead and argue in favor of ethnic cleansing and say that you're lucky that Native people don't want revenge.
Are you Native American?
I imagine that
Indeed,
as a, like a Native advocate for land back, that would probably feel a little bit weird. You know, it'd be a little bad. What is this?
Flua, why didn't you bring this up in a debate? Well, that would have been great if I had known that's what we'd be debating. There were so many comments saying that I didn't debate this well, and I find it frustrating because I had debated two topics that I wasn't prepared for. It's not that I just didn't know that we'd be debating this. We specifically agreed to talk about something else. In fact, Vaush DM'd me and said, if you were to come on, what specifically would you want to talk about? I'm happy to talk about our disagreements, but I wouldn't want it to be some conversation in a conversation. We're talking about what we talked about before.
I do hate talking with people about, like, previous... If we're gonna talk, I like just talking about, like, the ideas. You know what I mean? Like, initially she wanted to talk about, like, her video on my video.
Oh, she's leaking the DMs. Oh, I didn't get to this bit yet. Wait, did I already answer the question in chat that I'm Native American? I am.
on her video. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, you know, I like talking about the ideas. It clears it up a little bit.
We should just choose a topic to discuss. No? Or I said, why would we talk about anything else other than accusations I've made against you and that you've made against me? What would be the point of picking any other topic to discuss? Vaush replied, well, it could turn into a time-wasting mail stream of constantly citing and looking through video timestamps to make points that could otherwise just be made by stating positions you believe.
This is 100% true, by the way.
Wait, yeah,
if you guys have ever been in the position that I am, or even seen me be in this position, then yes, this is, yeah.
And I said, I think you and I have made our positions clear. The clarity of our positions isn't the issue. My issue is—
Well, it kind of was, because she's pro-ethnic cleansing, but she kept saying she wasn't, so that was my thing. I wanted to clear up what her positions were.
The information spread, the fact that you feel empowered to belittle people while doing it. At which point Vaush said, all right, you can come on, signifying that we had an understanding, but also acting as if I was the one asking to come.
Wait, there were more DMs than this, weren't there? Is my memory failing me, or is she actually editing? There was way more than that. Hold on. Did you signify that you had an understanding? No, she blocked me. Wait, I can't see the DMs. Wait, maybe if I scroll down, hold on. Maybe the search on Twitter doesn't work sometimes. Maybe if I... Wait, here. Please show me. There was a ton of stuff she left out. DMs leaked means DMs leaked. Who cares? There was a whole bunch of preceding shit before we arrived at that point.
Right.
Which I guess I'll try to summarize, but I asked if she wants to come on to clear things up. She said she'll talk to friends to see whether or not she actually wanted to, like, speak with me. I said, how to be fair, people usually come on to disagree with them. Flowers says, I'm trying to figure out if having a public convo with you is worth being publicly belittled in the way I often see in debates or conversations. I say fair, I can never guarantee a perfectly calm convo, but that's usually what I aim for. I tried that with Mexi too, but life gets in the way, because Professor Flowers cited the Mexi conversation in the first video.
I don't know what the fuck. Wait, I don't know who the fuck that is.
Flowers said, I'm willing to talk given these conditions if you are too. So she wanted a big video up on the screen so that she could literally go through the video timestamp by timestamp. I want the screen to be big enough to share the screen so I can show examples of what I'm referring to. Like, she wants, like, timestamp by timestamp to go over. And guys, I'm so sorry. I would rather Roblox myself than go over something like that, because it's so boring, and you never get to the actual point, and it turns into, like, meaningless fucking semantic forever. As somebody who's had enough conversations to know, trust me, I do not like doing this. I'd like to ask that viewers hold off on donations and that the video won't be monetized, so neither of us make a profit from this. Does this sound okay
to
you? I say that I don't like these conditions. I'd rather discuss the ideas at...
What? Why? Wait. Why? What the fuck? Why? What does Roblox myself mean? Nobody answer it here. You can do your own research.
And then go over the stream point by point. Why do you want to do it that way? And then I say, I'm not letting my monetization be dictated by the people who I bring on to debate. What do you'd rather just discuss the ideas at hand? I like the idea of going over the stream because it brings up the things that I say that you find inaccurate, and it also does the same for me. It also helps give us context. So there is a point here where sometimes, like, having a couple of direct things to cite can be good, but in this case, I knew what this was going to turn. I had no interest in talking about the specific content of those videos. Just a few ideas that, like, I felt she misrepresented. I don't know if there was, like, a particular, like, snafu she wanted to catch me in. Like, that's fine, but I don't want to frame the whole thing around that. Anyway, I explained why I feel that way, and I say that she can re-upload my audio or video for her own preservation if that's what she would like. Before I agree to talking, I need to address the monetization issue. I understand your channel is how you make money, but I feel very complicated about a white person profiting off this racial issue while I, a black person, profit nothing. Again, like, this is very fucking weird to me. If you're a black person and you want to talk about this with, like, a white content creator, and you're like, I feel strange about you making money during your job, like, this is very fucking weird to me.
Okay, thanks. Before I agree, I need to address the monetization issue. I understand that your channel is how you make money, but I feel very complicated about a white person profiting off of this racial issue. She realizes she's not Native American, right? Like, what about you, buddy? What about you? What about you? Anyway, while I, as a black person, profiting nothing, of course, I would prefer that neither of us gain any money from this conversation. But if you must monetize the video, I will still talk with you. But I also need to bring up this point and perhaps ask for donations on my end to help organize. Ooh. Shout out your channel, alright? I'm assuming we'll be able to figure out the video and audio so I can also share my screen. I want to be clear about my intentions. While I'm interested in exploring what your beliefs are, my intentions are to do justice to this topic. So ignore his opinion. If all this sounds okay to you and we move forward talking, I unfortunately won't talk tonight, but I am free Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday, and perhaps Saturday.
I don't know how much of, like, an entitled, like, weirdly fucking, like...
Perhaps because she thinks that because she is BIPOC, they are similar. That's the dumbest shit in the world.
Racist asshole you have to be to, like, actually make... Like, why? This is my channel. I'll make thousands off videos I post, whether you come on or not. It doesn't change anything. I could make a video of me doing a Fortnite dance, post that, put 16 ads in the first minute and a half, and then just be done with it. You're not, like, interrupting my enterprise, okay?
Yeah, BIPOC is cringe.
Strange.
As fuck.
Yeah, if any, you benefit way more from this than I do because you get clout. I get videos made no matter what. You get attention and clout that you otherwise would not get. You're the one getting access to like a unique and otherwise inaccessible thing. Of course, I would much prefer neither of us get any money from this conversation, but if you must monetize this video, I'll still talk to you. But I also need to bring up this point and perhaps ask for donations on my end to help organizers who I know who are struggling. I guess that didn't happen.
Penny, I don't know.
I was willing to do that too, right? If she was like, hey, you know, can I plug my friend's GoFundMe or something? I don't know. And then we talked about times available. Oh, and then I didn't respond for a few days because I forgot to. So there's a 3-day gap here. Wait, no, never mind. Not 3 days. A week and a half.
Oh my god.
There we go. To which I respond with, your new video misrepresents me even more. What the fuck? Guys, the reason that I didn't respond to this like immediately is because I can't deal with this shit, dude. Like, guys, I need you to understand. I get canceled enough as it is. I do not need the additional stress of having a POC, a WOC in my fucking DMs telling me that we need to reflect on the racial dynamic of who's getting more money from what. Like, it's like this gets tiring and I stop caring. But yeah, anyway, then she made a new video and maybe we should define terms. And then finally the last bit that we finally arrive at the very end shows up, the last bit that she actually showed. So she missed like the huge chunk where I said that I explicitly did not want to go over like segment by segment in the video, which is why she didn't come with video timestamps. In this video, she's making it sound like I lied to her, like she was supposed to like talk, like we were agreed to talk about video timestamps, and that I like tricked her or whatever. But she just arrived to talk about stuff, you know.
And I said, I think you and I have made our positions clear. The clarity of our position, but also acting as if I was the one asking to come on, not him asking me. Based on our agreement, I thought that we'd come to an understanding that we'd focus on the accusations made on his stream into my video, which focus on how his content and audience make leftist spaces more hostile to the black leftists who simply disagree with him. And I didn't
we touch on that? I feel like she didn't even have anything to say. She's like, hey, you make it hostile to black leftists who disagree with you. And then I said with a big smile, I make it hostile to all people who disagree with me. There's something. Honest to God, my community really does not brigade other people's communities that much.
talk about some of those accusations, such as how—
Is there a reason you're not being more mean to her right now? Literally. It's honestly just because the left is racially biased. I have nothing else to say. If a person who was white behaved this way, I would tear into them and everyone would agree with me on it. Literally, that is it. If it was a white guy that like the online left would you know, defend me, nobody would care. It's super frustrating. And it's unironically like really bad behavior from the left that any of this bias seeps in.
Vaush needlessly painted St. Andrew no name as segregationist or wanting to start a race war, but this quickly turned into a debate on anti-colonialist violence and black separatist states, both topics which had nothing to do with what we agreed on, and that I also had no—
It had to do with the video you made. You talked about black separatism in that video, and I asked you about that in the context of that video.
interest in debating. As I said, I'm not a separatist. I'm not interested in the hours of research I would need to prepare for that, and I simply don't have much to say on the matter, let alone debate it. And while I have some thoughts on colonialism, this is something else that I would need to spend months researching, and also talking with people to
very clearly
understand. I don't think I would ever want—
Wait, is she acknowledging she didn't know or wasn't educated on the— Wait, if her excuse after this was that she wasn't educated enough to have these conversations, then why the fuck am I the one getting lambasted for not getting it? What the fuck? I have done research in this. It's literally part of social— you learn about this pretty early on in social— in sociology. God damn it, dude. Yeah, but you're white. True.
Debate that topic with someone for fear of misrepresenting people, but because these topics were brought up, and Vaush argued at fear of retribution and misrepresentation of separatism.
No, it's shit that people do when they suck at editing.
Not true. I do not fear retribution from colonized people. I fear people like Professor Flowers. There's a big difference between those things. Because colonized people aren't insane fucking racist ethnic genocide defenders like Professor Flowers is, so. I feel like you stumbled on a side project of her she never wanted the world to see. Yeah. The saddest thing is that after all this, most of the people in the online left are just going to remember her as like a black woman I bullied. Like they will neither know about or care about the fact that she was in this video and in the debate and all other media where she's talked about it, explicitly defending the right to commit ethnic cleansing as a form of revenge against white people specifically.
I felt like I had to say something, and what I had to say simply didn't matter. By the end of it, many concluded that they're justified in their fear of retribution of colonized people, and that all separatists want a dystopian ethno-state.
Wait, separatists? Yeah, they want an ethno-state. Isn't that literally? Yeah. Wait, can you Google these terms? Black separatism in its purest form asserts what blacks and whites ideally should form two separate independent nations. Yeah, okay. She has no fucking idea what she's talking about. Or, look, it's either she really doesn't know, she is actively and maliciously racist, and she covers it up by deliberately obfuscating this information. The YouTube comments are good, though. I'd been disillusioned with Vaush for a while. I noticed many times when he debated, he tried to compare his opponents with fascists and Nazis. People get so mad at me about this, but, like, I feel like I make a pretty good, like, effort to explain, like, the commonalities every time I do this. They always say this about me because they're in the groups that I would impugn that way. Guys, tankies are not that different to Nazis, okay? Shut the fuck up. I'm sorry. Stay mad, okay? Stalin literally would have allied with the Nazis if he didn't want— what was it, Bulgaria, okay? It was his Bulgaria lust that kept him from being a permanent member of the fucking Axis, okay? They only broke apart when Hitler invaded, okay? You're not special, okay? Fuck you. Lenin betrayed the post-revolution worker commune movement, okay? All of you suck. Fuck you. Eat my dick. The disabled trans woman somewhere in Bangladesh thing infuriates me to no end on so many levels. This person sure is racist against disabled trans people somewhere in Bangladesh. As a white leftist dude who knows more than enough about Vaush content to know this style, I'm so sorry to go through this. As one of the good whites, I am so sorry.
Yeah, that's pretty soy, dude.
God damn, dude. Ah, the left. Oh, the left. I love it. To be fair, Stalin and Hitler both planned on betraying each other. Yeah, not because the Stalin did not want to betray Hitler so that he could build a worker state. We need to fight back against Adolf Hitler so that we can finally secure democratic control of the means of production for the proletariat. Yeah, okay. All right, we're done.
Cool.